All right. So we have milled that hard red winter wheat down. You will always find that there's, can't see it down there, there's a little bit left in the mill that tends to just bounce around. But if you remove this bag, which we'll do so carefully, you'll see you have a very fine flour in here that can be used for breads, pastries, anything. Now, Royal Yeast says that there's enough natural yeast on the grain itself that you can actually make bread without yeast. Well, I do sourdough, so I'll do a sourdough starter, which takes a 3-day fermentation process. And I do have to say that last time I went to do this on the faulty mill, I had ground a little bit of flour before it stopped working on me, and I wasn't able to actually finish the process. But this grain actually started to bubble up, into a full-blown starter from the moment I mixed it up. So I mixed it, and 12 hours later it was extremely bubbly already. So what I'm going to do with this particular batch is I'm going to go ahead and do what Royal Yeast says, and I'm going to mix up a loaf of bread, and I'm going to let it sit and ferment naturally. I actually have a cabinet where I do most of my lacto-fermented foods. So it's a good yeasty environment anyway, and I'm going to go ahead and use this flour and mix it up. And then, like I said, you can see how fine that is. It's just as fine as any wheat flour that you're going to buy in the store. However, all the oils are intact, the entire grain is intact, and it's not when you buy it in the store. This has all the health benefits that you would get from grain that you're not going to get from anything that you buy in the store. They have to remove different parts of the grain to prevent the grain, the flour from becoming rancid from the oils. This has all of those essential oils. This has all of every ounce of nutrient that you can get from the grain. So a lot of health benefits to this. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up a loaf of bread. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my cabinet where I do all of my lacto-fermented foods, and we're going to see if it actually produces enough yeast on its own, naturally from the environment and from the grain itself, to produce a loaf of bread without having to do a sourdough starter. He says it's about a day or so. So we're going to give that a try, and then I'll let you know what the results are. But this is the Lee Household Mill. This is their top of the line 600S, I believe it is, or S600. With a variable grind on it, this being its finest grind for this particular flour. And it's quite an excellent mill. They also do commercial as well for those commercial bakers, which if I ever, once again, go back into owning my own place, I will use one of those. But that is the review of the mill. Works very well. It's extremely easy to use. It's also very easy to clean. It's a matter of taking these 2 screws here. We just remove the hopper. Take these 2 screws off here, one on each side, and then there's a couple of pieces that come straight off. You pull the grinding mill, this you can see in here is actually what mills the flour. So you take that wheel out very carefully, just brush everything out of there, make sure it's all out so it doesn't attract bugs, put it back together. It's a very quick and easy process for cleaning it. You want to clean it after every time you do this. Then you also want to take any of your flour that you're not going to use that day, refrigerate it for a couple of days. Don't grind more than a few days worth of flour at a time because you don't want the oils to go rancid or lose your nutritional value. So this is just enough for my bread that I'm doing right now. You have to make sure that these bags are attached, and you want to make sure that they're not leaking. People don't realize this, but flour, when it gets airborne, is actually highly flammable and can actually burst into flames. So you don't actually want that to get airborne. And that's why these special bags are made for these, and you can buy extra from the company as well. So hopefully this is helpful.